I don't feel particularly bored, but at some point I began to notice that repetition in my daily life resulting into this feeling of boredom. And I'm like, we're not really bored. We just have not been doing the things that we want to do. And then eventually because we're circulating into the same activity, we have yet to introduce something new, something fresh. And I don't really keep up with the news. And I'm just like watching the things that I want to watch and follow the things that I want to follow. And I get into this cycle of repetition that just has not been fresh. So I've been feeling a bit boredom, but not into the extensive that I literally so fucking bored I can't get out of this way. It's not like that. So I'm just like I'm feeling a little bit bored and like we get a little bit angst. So I noticed that the feeling that I'm describing, the feeling that I feel right now can be described as angst, but I don't really know what that means. Persistent generalized feeling of anxiety, dread, and deep inner turmoil. Exactly. It's a bit more of a procrastination kind of stuff and also like boredom in a way. A bit frustration along the way, and angst is actually the right word to describe what I'm feeling. And before scheduling the live today, I just thought, what can we talk about today? And this thing is not so profound that I want to share, but it is something that I feel throughout the day that I'm like, we actually hasn't been introducing anything new, and we are stuck in this cycle of the same thing over and over again. And I'm like, okay, we gotta do something different. Not necessarily energetic, not necessarily new, just different. And I wonder like what that is. Because something new right now is too expensive for me. I have so many other things that I want to do, but feeling something different can be experienced with the same thing that we usually have, we usually do, and then it just shifted in some different level. That's how I feel about it. And yeah, boredom is not bad when you know how to process the thing. If you know that you feel bored at some point, my this veil is actually very um slippy. So it always like slip here and there. And I'm like, so when you know how to process really negative stuff, you can bypass, you can exit from the feeling itself, you can stop feeling the things and eventually just like feel your flow of the day to be much more positive because you have processed this negative cycle. And I get to a point where if you feel bored, it is calling you to do something different, something new, something that you might have not do in a while and all this stuff. And if you can like jump into the feeling of that instead of dreading, instead of dwelling into the same feeling of the negativity, like you can turn the boredom into blame because then you get to be responsible but in such a negative way, and therefore you just blame things. And most of the time I usually blame myself for not knowing better. It's just like a really negative idea to go for because that's not the best way to transform, to process the negative things you have in life. And I thought about this, like my background, my family background is that I was so independent that at one point I don't need help. My parents kind of catch up to that, but eventually they abandoned me emotionally because of how independent I am. I was. And I was that kid that would know how to take things maturely. And it's not a good thing if you are a child, because a child still needs something to learn along the way. Like you need to learn how to express your emotion, how to process your emotion, to how to share things with others and all that stuff. And I never get to learn that because at the very beginning I was someone who is very independent, and my parents never like jumped the board into teaching me into how to process emotion. But I also thought like my parents never have the gift, never have the abundance to do that themselves, so they never know that it need to be shared to their children. There are so many other possibilities why it was not happening in my life, but I eventually took it into my own responsibility when I was like older, because I realized that, oh, if everything is in the right order, like I don't need to like have this cycle of negativity. But now that I do have this cycle of negativity, I know that because I feel so bad about myself, really terribly. So this is like after I realized I got it in understanding what is suffering, and I look into my personal system, my own system, like what could be streamlined, what could be like minimize the process for us to like support ourselves so that it move automatically without our support, and eventually it just moves such a flawless way. And sometimes we need some maintenance, but we don't necessarily need the force to keep things going in a positive flow. And I get to see it, oh, this thing, processing your emotion. And I get to understand, I also understand that it was because of when I was a child, I never get into the state of expressing my emotion, because I always in this flow of like deciding, decision, choice. And it was like on the go. It's very masculine. There is no process. There is no like possibility, opportunity. It was like just I know it. This is the thing. This is to go. And then the failing is actually really hard for me because I also never get to understand how to process the failure itself. So it's really hard on me. I get into the cycle of blaming, into frustration, into um buffering. Like you don't necessarily take the next move. You just like buffer in the state that is so uncomfortable, but you don't know where else to go. And that's like the process that it used to be. And I know that that is not healthy, and I try to change it. And this is the key, is that you express your emotion. You don't need to say like, okay, this is bad. I don't need to say it. This is good. This is the only thing that I can show to the world. If this world is safe, if this world is free, you are allowed to share whatever state you're in, no matter how problematic, no matter how unprocessed that thing is. You need to share the expression, the true expression itself, because then from there, when you express that emotion, you get to see, oh, maybe you need to settle in first. Maybe you need to sink in the momentum itself first, then you go into the next step. Or you get into this state of annoyed. Like, I can't believe I have this feeling right now. I am annoyed that I have this feeling. You can also have that kind of state. So in my work, I never let anyone to decide what is the next step. You get to decide. So it's not my job. It's not your job. We need to see where we land in this emotional level, that we start to see the possibility beyond it. So You having a process that is so quick that you just um, speed trained it into decision A, B, C, it's great. If you are a CEO and all that stuff, that is your job. That is what you do. But the thing is that if you are so good at that, but you are really terrible at processing your emotion, then you need to delay the next stop of your train. Maybe like you hop on into the economic train for once in a while and see like, okay, this emotion is coming up again, and we have already diverted in some way, but it keep coming up. Then you need to start expand that momentum and see how do you actually go from feeling it, experiencing it, and then start to go into the flow of processing the feeling and turn it into possibility, opportunity, path, choice, decision, all that stuff to action. That is the thing that you need to expand in order to learn expression. And I get to learn that. And now that we are here, feeling boredom is actually the greatest thing to take the action. But this switch between boredom and action is really flimsy because you can take action while you are bored, but never really change the tonality of your action. So you still feel bored, you still feel misalignment, you still feel detached from your aligned action. Saying it aligned action, it actually not really fitting. For your from your next action is actually so boredom and the action. I kind of like already collapsed the timeline now. I kind of forget about it. But if I can remember more about this thing, it's about to rain. A bit scared because I was drying something under the sun. So when you feel bored, the next best thing is that you are turning that thing into action like right away. You don't need some processes, you just know how to tweak it in the way that this thing happened because I didn't do this. So the decision, the framework is that the frame is that you didn't do something and then you fall into the same system that requires you no new circuit. So you fall into this thing. I kind of forget about it. You fall into this thing called boredom because you haven't done anything new. You haven't done anything different. And to fall into the action, you can start to look what is that differentness in action. And I've seen it now, is that I have been feeling bored because things has repeat itself in such a cycle that I can't get out from. And the feeling is so repetitive, repetitive. Is like the same, and I can't fall into this excitement anymore. But when I think about what matters, when I think about what actually excites me, what I think about what I like, I can turn, I can shift the engine to something that is more positive flow. So I got to see, okay, we actually need to do this action, but it was the same as before. And but if I think deeper, I know if I think in the complete coherence of it, I actually like to do it because of this, because of this. because of this. Now your boredom, it starts to spark the momentum of wanting to do it. And that's like the action, that's like the excitement. And when you fall deeper into that, you get to do the things that you want. So this is the processes that I talk about, is that you need to have this kind of momentum to know what is your option, what is your available option, but also like what is your most favorable action based on the things that you have transformed, based on the things that you have alchemized yourself, and the things that are available to you. So if you are in a state like I am, where we cannot do something new because it was so expensive, then you can think it differently. Doesn't need to be brand new, just need to be different. And that differentness can come from the idea of what you like and all the stuff that I have said, the things that I just forgot. And that thing will help you to tune up the level of your emotion, that eventually this is what matters. Oh, the matter thing is that this is mattered to me because this can help me to do the next new thing in my life. And in order to do that, I do this. So this is important, and I need to do the important stuff. That logical pathways is available to you, while you don't really need to do anything new. It's already there. And that's why my principle in my work is that what you need is available right now. You have everything you need. And if you eventually need something that is not available to you now, and it will available to you then it's not relevant. It's that simple. Oh, so that's what I mean by processes. This is going from such a minimal thing to something really static. By static, I mean it's very philosophical, and then it's very personal. There is very it's very like in the process, and then like you kind of like need to own it to believe what option you have. So it's very interesting live stream. Honestly, I didn't expect it to be this, but I think about that personal stuff too, about what my parents. The biggest gift my parents ever do to me is that they are emotionally abandoned me, because I also have other things going on that eventually make the abandonment exist. There was like one thing that always keep ringing in the back of my mind when I was a child, and that thing is, say it. I keep hearing the word say it, but I never get to, because I have never had anyone to share the things. I never feel the need to share it. And that's also like why I have a trouble to share things, because that is like the biggest block, not the biggest, like it's like the main thing that I usually have is just that I'm always by myself. It's never been me with someone else. It's all just me. So this is a very brand new experience, and I honor my own challenge. My challenge. No. I honor my own desire to challenge the situation. So, well, at some point, I'm also triggered, because I don't like to be triggered, and I like to win over my trigger. So, this is one of the things. It's very, and also like whenever I get to stream, it's always like after I eat something, and then I always burp here and there. I'm like, it sucks. because nowadays I only eat like once a day. It sucks because I in the morning I didn't eat anything, and when it's like already late, like around the 3 to 4 p.m., around the time I need to stream, I was eating and then I just like keep burping on stream. It's not nice. I know that. And we got nothing else to say. Because apparently that sometimes when you are hungry, there is some nothingness that you feel, and that nothingness, that void is filled with this boredom, negativity, anxiety, and all that stuff, and the similar stuff. And I'm like, and then when I finish eating, and I'm like, feeling okay, I'm feeling positive again. And I'm like, I guess that's good. My veil is kept like, and that's all I got to say today. It's pretty like a short live stream. So if you are here or you're watching the replay, thank you for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.